South Africa is leading the continent when it comes to economic competitiveness. That's the finding of the 2013 Global Competitiveness Index that's released annually by the World Economic Forum. It ranks South Africa as 52 out of 144 countries. CNBC Africa editor-in-chief Godfrey Matizwa is standing by with Christine Ramond, Chief Financial Officer at Sasol. And Godfrey, we know Sasol is looking to diversify outside of South Africa, looking at gas opportunities in America, but certainly spending a lot of money still in South Africa right now. That's the Sasol story, but what's the feeling on the ground at WEF today?
That's what I actually wanted to say to you, Sab. Actually, you're sounding very strange because I hear you talking about gold, I hear you talking about oil, I hear you talking about company results, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? There's a whole world here that's happening. Of course, we've got over 70 country representatives that are sitting here in Cape Town, and we've got more than 1,000 delegates that are here attending various sessions, from one-on-one meetings to workshops to plenary sessions. Of course, we had the big debate here on CNBC Africa about Africa's agriculture opportunity, where we had a fantastic conversation with the Minister of Agriculture of Nigeria, Mr. Adesina, who I certainly think one day will elevate to the top office, but that's just a conversation between you and me. Don't let it go out to the rest of the world. Let's talk about
no one heard that, don't worry,
Her
Godfrey.
name is Christine. Thank you, Sam. I trust you. Let's talk about Christine Ramond. Christine Ramond has been with Sasol for the past 7 years, and she's sitting down here with me to talk about what she has been doing here at WEF. And as I said to you, there are a number of meetings that are taking place, bilaterals and one-on-ones. And I wanted to ask you, Christine, what you make of WEF 2013? We come here every year, we engage you guys, we ask you questions about what you're doing. What's your sense about the people you have met, the discussions you have had, the sessions you've attended about overall WEF 2013?
I think, for me, WEF has really been about, meeting, networking is actually a big focus of WEF, and it's a spirit of collaboration. So what I've actually been doing, I've only really been here today,
right,
has really been, attending private sessions and also bilateral meetings, meeting with potential business partners, financiers, and the like. I know colleagues of mine have also met with government officials, and it's really discussing as to how can we actually improve the environment, whether it's South Africa or other countries that we are actually investing in, both from a regulatory perspective, as well as addressing some of the key drivers and enablers for us to be able to participate in business opportunities.
Yeah, you would know better than most about regulatory issues. Sasol has been in the wars a little bit with regulators, but that's not the conversation for today. I think more it's what you're doing to work with government to make sure that you collaborate and we take forward the development of the continent. Now, just in terms of the themes that are driving WEF this year, we've got the main theme is delivering on Africa's promise. Now, there are very nice numbers that are coming out. The doubling in the consumer spend, the increasing household wealth, and all these other nice things. But what's your sense in terms of commitment from the authorities here? What's different about WEF 2013?
I think clearly the authorities are actually, very committed to make things work. And like I said, through the collaboration that's actually happening, I think they're actually paying quite close attention to what are the barriers being experienced by business there. Of course, at Sasol, we're looking at a number of different opportunities and exploring opportunities on the African continent. And I think it's only by engaging quite closely with government that one can actually be heard and help them actually address it. So I think, it's not just about looking at what governments of the different countries can do, but it's also about where business are interested in pursuing opportunities, is how we can actually partner with government to make these opportunities happen. So I'd say that yes, it is serious, but I do see things progressing and advancing, and for me, WEF this year has certainly very energetic and vibey, and people are more driven, to make things happen. But of course, one has to give it time to see how the talk actually translates into action.
Let's come back to Sasol in South Africa. Of course, Sasol is a South African company, as South African as a company can get. Your big focus going forward is South Africa, as well as, of course, the other opportunities outside. What are you doing inside South Africa in terms of growing Sasol as a company? We know you've got mega projects that you've been doing.
Yes. So about 90% of our operating profit is still generated from South Africa. So it's a significant portion of our business. We're going to be spending about 32 billion rand in capex this year, capital expenditure this year, and about 35 billion rand next year. So approximately 2/3 of that capital expenditure will be invested into the South African environment. So it's significant commitment that we have to South Africa. What we're actually doing is we have got the Synfuels business. We're looking at nurturing the business, certainly going forward. We're looking at investing into the life extension of that business to 2050. And what that means is that we've got to invest in skills development and technologies to be able to enable that business going forward, as well as securing adequate feedstock into this business.
Yeah.
So the feedstock into the business, for example, is coal, primarily coal feedstock and gas-based feedstock.
Right.
So on the coal side, we've invested about 14 billion rand into a mine replacement program to be able to feed the Synfuels business going forward.
Yeah.
And I think, certainly from a gas-based feedstock perspective, Mozambique is a very big heartland for our growth, and it's really about 10% of the feedstock requirements is gas from Mozambique.
Right.
And we're certainly investing into upstream on and offshore gas exploration in Mozambique, and then we can actually assess how we're going to monetize the gas going forward.
I think that's an important story that you talk about, because people tend to forget that South Africa is still growing. When we talk about Africa, we say, oh, the growth is elsewhere, but South Africa is still a very important market for companies like Sasol. But let's talk about the West Africa as an investment opportunity here. Now, I've been talking about the numbers coming out of the continent.
Yes.
What about for Sasol? What are you seeing, and where are you active?
We're very active in Mozambique. Mozambique is the heartland for our growth. Like I said, Mozambique is actually very rich in gas. Sasol's actually been invested in Mozambique since 2004. And we were very instrumental in developing the gas fields, the Panda and Tamane gas fields in Mozambique in partnership with the Mozambican government.
Right.
We've also been in partnership with the Mozambican and the South African government in building a pipeline from Mozambique into South Africa, and the gas from Mozambique then feeds into our Synfuels plant in Secunda, and about 50% of that gas feeds into the third-party market in South Africa. So what we are doing is we're very much investing into, like I said, further upstream on and offshore gas exploration in Mozambique.
Yeah.
We've also recently signed a memorandum of understanding with one of the big oil companies, and certainly depending on where we land on from a negotiations and commercial negotiations perspective, we'll be able to decide how to actually proceed with that. We've recently invested into additional pipeline compression, so to increase the capacity of the pipeline to bring more gas into South Africa.
Yeah.
So it will take the pipeline capacity to about 183 million gigajoules. We've recently made it's in excess of $240 million investment decision into power generation in Mozambique. We'll be generating, together in partnership also with the government of Mozambique, about 140 million megawatts of power. 140 megawatts of additional power in Mozambique. So a very key part of our strategy in Sasol, in addition to the energy and chemical businesses that we do have, is very much power generation.
Yeah, and that's built around Mozambique.
And that's being built around gas from Mozambique.
Okay.
I mean, clearly gas in South Africa is at this stage sort of virtually non-existent. So the feed for the gas-fired power is really gas from Mozambique.
Right.
I think one other point I'd like to mention is we are looking at additional opportunities elsewhere on the African continent.
Yeah.
We currently actually do have oil fields. We are a small participation in oil fields in Gabon, and we are doing some additional investment there to extend the life of those oil fields by doing additional drilling in Mozambique.
Right.
But certainly on the chemical side, we're also looking at opportunities at growing on the back of other mining companies as well as other industrial companies, because Sasol doesn't supply directly into consumer markets, but clearly as we need to supply these companies, we will be growing together with them going forward.
Absolutely.
I mean, Africa is a great opportunity.
The opportunity is there, it's huge. So for Sasol, really, even as we talk about South Africa and the amounts of money you're pouring here, there's a lot more that potentially could be going to the rest of the continent.
Absolutely. I mean, Africa's got more than 1 billion consumers, though the capex, the capital, the spend, the ability to spend is actually quite low. It's a very great opportunity for us to pursue, but like I said, together with other partners that we would supply.